Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Welcome to this episode of the No Close Show. As always, Scott Carson here, excited. And today's topic is something to keep in mind when you're looking to investing. A lot of people always ask me, hey, what are the hot markets? Where should I be buying notes in? Where should I be buying real estate in? And I always laugh because I can tell you what the hot markets are right now, but that doesn't mean you're going to find deals there. Hot markets are often what I consider and what I describe as markets where people have already come to. People are overpaying. And that's not necessarily the place that you want to go. You want to go to a place, invest in an area, buy property, buy notes, whatever, become a landlord, fix and flip or whatever, looking for deals in markets where everybody's not at, but that are growing. And I've been thinking about doing this episode for a while now. And what's funny is over the weekend, USA Today actually published an article. So I got to give full credit to USA Today on the article about the fastest growing counties in the country. Now, what does that mean? Well, the article exactly, I think, came out Saturday, if I remember correctly. I mean, it was here's the fastest growing county in each state. I was like, this is perfect, especially if they're looking through the whole 50 states and realizing, oh, yeah, there's quite a few states that I didn't know about that. Oh, that's a good one. Ooh, you know what I mean? So that's what I thought I would take this article or this episode more so than anything else and share the article, but also not go through all 50 states because that could be a longer episode. But it was written by Samuel Stebbins, 24/7 Wall Street. So I guess they picked this up there, published it on August 30th. And I thought it was such a great article because it really did bring out some areas that I thought were important to look at. And this breaks it down. I did a really good job to go back in and talk about each county, what the biggest, technically, city in that county, and the growth over time. Now, the article also prefaced that the U.S. annual population growth recently hit its lowest level in 80 years. All right, that's kind of interesting. It means more people are still being born more than dying, but it's the lowest amount. So it was basically there was basically 18.5 million more people living in the United States today than there were in 2010, a 6% increase. Okay. But that's the lowest increase in 80 years. So what's great is that every state had at least one county that showed up on this thing that was going through population growth. Now, they're not all the ones that you would expect. Not the ones, I mean, some of them you would expect, and others like, oh, that's kind of interesting. A few of them I had to actually check to see where that county was as an idea, not only for me to understand where it's at, but also to look at when I start seeing tapes coming in or a list of assets of areas that are growing through population. Because that's just what you want. You want to be buying an area people are moving to. I think we can all agree to that, right? Don't necessarily want to be buying an area where people are leaving, all right? So I'm going to try to find an article that hits the opposite side of this for a future podcast here in the next week or two. But anyway, I thought we'd kick it off with this, and it just starts alphabetical. I'm going to skip some states that just we don't see, that aren't a surprise, and go from there for the most part. So I'd start first with Alabama. It's Baldwin County. Largest place in the county is Daphne. That's almost a 20% increase from 2000 to 2018. That's really big. And what was great is almost every one of these counties was a big enough place, over 100,000 or more, that I identify, look, there's enough people in that county or in that area to really make sense worth investing. So Alabama is Baldwin County. 19.6% increase. I'm not going to cover Alaska. Nobody's buying there. Arizona is Pinal County, where Casa Grande is. That's also seen a 19% increase because it's outside of the Phoenix area. Okay, Arkansas was Rogers in Benton County, another 23% increase. California was kind of surprised. Was Placer County, where Roseville is. It's seen a 12.8% increase, which is kind of surprised. Colorado, Weld County, which Greeley, Colorado is it. We get some friends that live up there. Seen a 13% increase, which is nice. We're going to jump down here to, we're not going to look at Connecticut, which is Fairfield, Delaware, Sussex. Florida, Sumter County is the Villages. That's where the Villages. That's seen almost a 38% increase, which is pretty crazy, which we're excited because that's one of our flagship 17 markets. Radio stations is there in the Villages. So excited that you guys are growing greatly down that neck of the woods if you're listening here. whether it's on the radio or watching or listening. Georgia was Forsyth County, where Cumming is, to almost a 35% increase in the last 8 years. Let's see, flip down here. So we're not really doing it. Idaho is no surprise. Illinois is Kendall County, where Oswego is. It's only about 11%, 11.5% increase. Illinois, Indiana, Hamilton County, where Carmel, Indiana is, seen a 20% increase over the last 8 years. That's kind of a surprise, but pretty exciting about that area for a lot of Hoosier investors out there. Kansas was Wamego. That's where basically, Potawatomi County. I'm saying that twice. For Wamego in Kansas, it was where that biggest growth was, and that's 12%. Kentucky was Scott County, yay, 19%, which is where Georgetown, Kentucky is at. Chalmette in St. Bernard Parish was the largest place in St. Bernard Parish, is growing 30% increase over the last 8 years. Wow, 30% increase. Okay, people moving out of New Orleans for sure. All right. Not really seeing anything in Maine. Let's flip down here to Maryland. Was Howard County, where Columbia, Maryland is at. That's seen a 12.6% increase. Massachusetts was Suffolk County, no surprise there in Boston. Michigan was Ottawa County, and Holland, Michigan. Now, I had to check where that is. That's on the Great Lakes there, east of Grand Rapids, Michigan. That's seen a 10% increase that county has in the last 8 years. So something to keep in mind. Outside of Grand Rapids, it's an area that's grown relatively quickly. People like that it's on the state, or it's on the lake. Okay. Let's see. We don't see much in Minnesota. That was Carver County. Mississippi is Lafayette County, where Oxford is at. Seen a 15.7% increase. All right. Missouri was Platte County. I guess is how you would say Platte County. That's actually Kansas City. Missouri has seen a 15% increase. I don't really see anything in Montana. Nebraska is Sarpy County, where Bellevue is. Nevada is no surprise at Clark County in Las Vegas. That's seen a 14% increase. A lot of that's been coming from California, obviously, but Clark County is growing at 14.5% for the last 8 years. Don't really see anything in New Hampshire. We don't really see anything. Well, New Jersey has Hudson County, where Jersey City is at. It's seen a 6.6% increase. Don't really see anything in New Mexico. New York is Saratoga County, where Saratoga Springs is at, is just at a 5%, roughly 4.8% increase. North Carolina, this is kind of a surprise for me, was Brunswick County, which is on the southern border with South Carolina. Oak Island area is right on the water, just north of the state line, is grown at 27%, which is pretty surprising. Don't see really anything in North Dakota. Ohio, Delaware County, which is just north of Columbus. All right, I've seen a growth of 17.6%. People obviously moving a little bit out of Columbus, where maybe it's a little bit more affordable. That's seen a good chunk there. So if you're an Ohio investor, look for stuff in that county. Delaware County in Delaware, Ohio. All right. Oklahoma, a Canadian county, where Oklahoma City, OKC, is at. It's not really a surprise for the most part. Okay. Oregon had Deschutes County, where Bend is at. Bend's going through a lot of growth, 21.7% there in Deschutes County. If I'm pronouncing it incorrectly, my apology. All right. Then we jump to Pennsylvania, where Cumberland County is, where Carlisle, Pennsylvania is. It's just seen a 6.8% increase in population. Don't really see anything in Rhode Island. It's Providence. It's no surprise there. That takes us to South Carolina, Horry County, where Myrtle Beach is at. And that's going through a boom, just under 28% increase in the last 8 years. It's quite a bit of growth there. Don't really see anything in South Dakota. Sioux Falls is no surprise there. Tennessee, where Franklin in Williamson County, Tennessee, has gone through a big growth, 26.4%. Wow, 26.4%, a lot of growth there in Williamson County, Tennessee. Okay, now 43 for Texas. Everybody thinks about Texas. Oh, it's got to be Dallas, Fort Worth, or around Harris. So I was really surprised by this, but now that I think about it, it makes sense. Hays County. Now, where the heck is Hays County? Hays County includes San Marcos, Texas, where Texas State is at. All right. Now, I went to school in San Marcos. I was really surprised about this, excited. Texas State has really grown dramatically. It's a great little area. It's right smack dab between Austin and San Antonio. And there's, you've got basically San Marcos, you have New Braunfels to the south of that, which is on the north side of San Antonio. You have basically areas like Kyle, Buda, which are just south of Austin, that rolls into San Marcos. Hays County is growth. 41.7% growth in the last 8 years. Pretty interesting. Texas State has grown a lot since I went to school there. I meant to check this earlier. Attendance rate for Texas State. And they see wow, 38,000 for all students go to Texas State University. Big university. It's one of the largest ones in the state. I think it's third behind Texas and Texas A&M for the most marks. Let's see what I think there's a ranking for this here. I'll have to come back to that later. But anyway, yeah, it's in the top 2-3 in the state. Good business school, good entrepreneurship program actually. But anyway, San Marcos, Texas, and we see a lot of people already have been buying there, targeting that area here. Austin investors that couldn't find anything here. San Antonio investors are looking for something. They're looking at New Braunfels, San Marcos, because it's still, you're only a 20 to 30 minute drive from either San Antonio or South Austin, and there's plenty of growth going on there. You've got actually what's been a big attraction in San Marcos in Hays County has been the big outlet malls. So for years, we've seen buses come up from the border, especially on tax-free weekends, of people coming up from Mexico to go shopping at the outlet mall. So for 20 years, since it was one of the first things I can remember driving up and going to the outlet malls as a kid with buddies. So that's over 20 years of that stuff. So anyway, going back here to the rest of the list here for everybody. But that's a thing. That's one thing you want to look at outside of the major areas where people are moving to. Utah is Wasatch County, where Heber is. Heber, 41.3%. That was also a large increase. We don't see a lot of them in Vermont. It's Burlington. Virginia, in Loudoun County. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it, Loudoun, where Leesburg, Virginia is at. I've got a couple notes in the neck of the woods. 30.3% increase in that county. Washington State, Franklin County, where Pasco, Washington is at, seen a 20.7% increase. West Virginia, don't see a lot of stuff there. Berkeley County, where Martinsburg is at, it's 12.4% increase. Wisconsin, doesn't surprise me in Dane County, with Madison being the biggest area there, 11%. That's where the university is at. There's growth a lot. And then, of course, Wyoming. Woo! We don't see a big surprise there. Jackson in Teton County, Wyoming, rounded it out to 8.4%. Now, thing to keep in mind, those states are great. Those numbers are all really good. What can you do with them? Well, the thing is the people are moving there. You can start looking for things in that neck of the woods. I will not doubt that you will find in growing universities in those counties, near those cities. I'd be willing to bet money that a big portion of them, excluding the ones that are kind of rural states we talked about, but most of your hot states, you're going to see a university that's going through a lot of growth too. So what does that mean for you? Well, if you can find distressed debt in that neck of the woods, great, target it. But I would also be very specific about looking at how far those assets are, those properties, those notes are from either major employers or the major universities. If you've ever come through our workshop, I've talked about, hey, look at the universities in there. Is there a major university? If you're 10, 20 minutes from a major university, you should be able to, worst case, you got to take the asset back and can't sell it. Maybe you can turn around and rent it, keep it as a rental, or hire property management companies rent it out by the room. That's a really attractive thing that a lot of people do when they're very near university. I don't think you can really do that when you're outside of 5-10 minutes drive for the most part, but if you're really close to university, as our good buddy Corey Peterson talked about on Note Camp, how he targets his apartments to be student housing right near a university. That's what they look for. You're never going to run out of attendees or students to be your renters and that stuff. I mean, what's one of the things we did when I was going to school? I tried to stay within 10 minutes of the university. That way, for my 8 o'clock class, I could wake up at 7:45 and still roll on with a minute left, like many people do, right? And avoid the traffic. So that's the thing you can see, especially when they're moving out of the way to the bigger cities. I mean, Austin's been growing like crazy. It'd be interesting to see what the stats were here for Travis County or even Bear County or Harris County. I would say Harris County is probably reduced a little bit compared ratios. I'm still growing, but I'd be willing to bet the growth slowed a little bit, especially the last 2 years with the hurricane recovery. But it's just people are moving in places all the time. And so what does that mean? Well, it means you have to really look at, because if they're moving to the more populated areas, the rural areas are obviously lessening for the most part, or they're moving to counties near the major metroplexes. So that's the thing you got to really be careful about. So how many people in the area that you're buying in the county? I still believe you need to be in an area that has at least 6 figures in that county to make it fruitful for you. So there's plenty of rehabbers, plenty of people that can fix your house, or attorneys, or even just people moving in if you need to do that aspect as well. So that's not saying if you're buying a portfolio, you won't get a few in the outstretched areas. You're just going to be more flexible when you're working that route to make sure that you've got plenty of people around to help you out with your asset. You don't want to buy a house where there's nobody around, okay? Or buy a note where there's nobody around. That bar that you're in may just be the exact bar that you need to keep them in the house and work to do that. So those are important things to keep in mind. But that's the thing. Some of the things, like we said, we weren't surprised with Vegas, with it being, Clark County there in Vegas, and then other areas in the country, for like Boston, Massachusetts, and things like that. But some of those are the most surprising. Like I said, Delaware County in Ohio, the county near Grand Rapids. I've already forgotten Michigan. That's a good one to keep in mind. Our friend Wiley Gregg's up in Grand Rapids. She's probably got her eye out in that area already. And then also the Oak Island County on the southern part of North Carolina, which is, on the water there, was a kind of surprise as well. County in South Carolina there where, oh my gosh, Myrtle Beach is at. It's not a surprise. It's been booming for years. But so keep your eyes out for stuff like that. Maybe you need to target some banks that are in that area. Maybe one of the great things that I have done in the past is jumped online and gone to those specific counties and pulled assignment searches to find out who's lending in the area, who are the major banks that have stuff in those areas, and target those banks for non-performing notes, whether it's residential or commercial. So that's the thing to keep in mind. Residential growth also leads to increased commercial growth as well. So keep an eye out in those areas, those opportunities. If you're near one of those counties, hey, do yourself a favor. Jump in the car, jump on a plane, and head on down and drive around and take a look. You may just find some nuggets that you may have overlooked or forgotten about, because a lot of people like to target the major areas, but where you make the most money, like I said, most amount of money and cash flow, is to target areas where you're ahead of the curve. You're ahead of the herd, all right? If everybody's running one direction, run the opposite. You often make more money and be a lot safer off, okay? So it's a thing to keep in mind. Just because people are all excited about Austin or San Antonio or Detroit or Columbus doesn't mean there aren't really great areas nearby, or just a stone's throw away that you can pick up some really great assets that are going to grow and appreciate and have a high demand for from homeowners, renters, or other investors looking to buy deals in those markets. So take a look at great article on USA Today. I love reading articles like that because it gives me some opportunities. It gives me some stuff to put on my hot list, stock away when I start looking at asset lists that are coming from banks and hedge funds in those states. So go out, make something happen, enjoy it, and we'll see you all at the top, everybody. Bye.